Question 1. Is it true that genes in which we are born determine everything we will do in our lives? Over the last few decades, there has been increasing evidence for a genetic basis of criminal behaviour. There have been some studies regarding twins which have been beneficial in this area of research, as it helps to differentiate the effects between genetic components and environmental factors. Glenn and Rain, 2014. Another way that genetic and environmental interactions can influence an individual's risk of offending is when certain environmental stressors can cause epigenetic changes in an individual. A previous study that gives an example to this was conducted by Beach and colleagues in 2011, which found that females that had experienced sexual abuse in their childhood exhibited variations in the 5-HTT gene in the promoter region of the brain, which has been linked to symptoms of antisocial personality disorder. This study has the same limitation as the one previously mentioned, which is that the participants were solely women, meaning that this study cannot be generalised to include males, even though males also experience sexual abuse in childhood. It is thought currently that genetics cannot solely account for criminal behaviour, as genes do not operate in isolation, but the actions are influenced by the genetic and environmental interactions that individuals experience. Vassos and colleagues, 2014. Question 2. Are all people born with the warrior gene or the MAOE gene going to be violent towards others at some point in their lives? The MAOE gene is often referred to as the warrior gene. This gene is responsible for the breakdown of neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine, and has been thought to impact an individual's antisocial behaviour by disrupting neurotransmitter balance within neural pathways that are involved in emotional regulation as well as behavioural inhibition. Buckholtz and colleagues, 2008. The perceived direct link between the MAOE gene originated from a Dutch family who had repeated cases of criminal behaviour as well as violent behaviour among the males in the family over multiple generations. The male members of the family were found to have an abnormality within the MAOE gene. Brunner and colleagues, 1993. This has limitations, however, as its inability to be generalised. It was conducted on one single family. However, research since this has taken place has also suggested a link between the MAOE gene and aggressive behaviour. Studies have suggested that individuals who have low MAOE have an increased risk for criminal behaviour only in the context of that individual having experienced an adverse childhood. Foley and colleagues, 2004. Observations from Wheeler, Morin and colleagues, 2016, also indicated that the MAOE gene may have an influence on an individual's risk of violence, but only once a specific level of violence had been observed by that individual. Studies have also shown that if an individual has a high level of MAOE gene and have experienced trauma within their childhood, that this variation of the gene could protect them against participating in violent behaviour or criminal behaviour. Capsey and colleagues, 2002. These previous findings suggest that the resulting predisposition that an individual experiences may be proportional to the severity and duration of the trauma that they have experienced. Tremblay and Seif, 2010. This has limitations, however, as each individual may define the term proportional differently. As discussed within my answer to the previous question, recent research has stressed the importance of the interactions that take place between an individual's genetic factors and environmental factors that they experience in life. Shanahan and Hofer, 2005. Due to this, it is unlikely that an individual will behave in a certain way simply due to the MAOE variation that they hold. Winsome and colleagues, 2006. Question 3. How much of offending behaviour is caused by nature and how much is caused by nurture? The nature-nurture debate is a long-standing debate that most people have heard of. However, many within the psychological field feel that this debate is outdated and has been made redundant through research. It has even been said to be naive and unhelpful. Craddock, 2011. Some researchers have deemed the biological cause of crime, such as hormonal and genetic factors in individuals, to be unimportant in comparison to the environmental factors of offending behaviour. Cooper and colleagues, 2010. There has been increasing research into genetics due to public interest, which has focused mainly on the genetic variations in relation to the biological aspect of crime. Research has suggested that antisocial behaviour may be a precursor to violent and criminal behaviour, such as certain behaviours in younger individuals. It is now thought that instead of offending behaviour being caused by either nature, often referred to as genetic or biological factors, or nurture, environmental factors, that biological factors are more of a susceptibility for an individual to become involved in criminal behaviour that can be enhanced or mitigated depending on the specific circumstances the individual experiences environmentally. Beltsky and Ploes, 2000. Although research indicates that offending behaviour increases when biological factors are paired with environmental factors, there has not been a theory yet that it completely explains the variance in criminal behaviour among the public. It is, however, a reasonable step to agree that adding both biological and environmental causes into a model of theory will increase general understanding of why individuals engage in violent or criminal behaviour. Wright and Beaver, 2005. There are multiple biological factors that could be influential regarding an individual's likelihood of offending, such as neurological deficits and hormones, although these are not as widely researched as genetics. The biological theory of criminal behaviour has this limitation and would possibly benefit from further research regarding these lesser researched options. In summary, it appears from research that genetics do not directly cause behaviour, but they do produce traits which can influence how an individual reacts to difficult environmental events. Walsh and Beaver, 2009. Many researchers feel that any claim that behaviour is not caused by a combination of biological and environmental factors is patently false. Burton Simmons, 2014. Question 4. What kind of life experiences make it more likely that someone with an inherited propensity for addiction will become addicted to alcohol or drugs? Research has shown that much like the cause of violent or criminal behaviour, which has been discussed in previous answers, addiction has both biological and environmental factors that contribute to an individual's risk of developing a problem with addiction. Kendler and colleagues, 2003. There has been research into the connection between addiction and childhood sexual abuse. It was found through this study that females who had experienced this life trauma were at an increased risk of developing substance abuse issues, but it also found that males did not have this same increased risk. This study suggests that childhood sexual abuse is a notable environmental factor for women. Marotta, 2017. There are limitations to this study, such as the small cell size making generalisation difficult, as well as the type of substance that the individual was abusing not being specified. Another study showed that homelessness is an environmental life experience that could be a risk factor for an individual with a genetic predisposition to alcoholism. In this study, 500 homeless individuals were involved. It was found that 78% of this sample size suffered with some sort of substance abuse disorder. Schutz, 2016. However, this study has limitations, such as the data gathered being self-reported, meaning that it might not be the most reliable. It has also been suggested that access to social services is a significant environmental risk factor for individuals developing addiction issues. If individuals do not have the support from medical facilities or social services, they are more likely to develop a long-term issue, such as drug or alcohol abuse, as they do not have the resources to receive help for these issues before they become chronic. Gala and colleagues, 2005. Divorce of parental figures in an individual's life is also suggested to be a risk factor for the development of drug and alcohol abuse. Research has specifically shown this to be a more significant risk factor in males compared to females. Needle and colleagues, 1990. This can be viewed as a limitation as it focuses on males, and so it is not ideal to generalise to the wider population. Overall, there are many life experiences that can make an individual with a genetic predisposition to addiction engage in substance use. These all do appear to be trauma-based, suggesting that it is negative experiences and emotions that are the high risk factors for these individuals. Question 5. If somebody is born with a genetic predisposition to break the law, what kinds of things can be done to help them avoid getting involved in crime? It has been found that an early onset of violence in an individual's life is connected to a higher risk of the presence of criminal behaviour in their adulthood. Farrington, 1992. If an individual becomes involved in criminal behaviour, it will often start with minor offences that then increase in severity and frequency if they reoffend, and so early intervention is suggested to be very important. Tolan and Gorman-Smith, 1999. Previous research has suggested that violence reduction programmes are effective in reducing the reoffending rate within individuals. It was shown that offenders of a violent nature who did not receive any intervention were over twice as likely to reoffend in comparison to individuals who participated in programmes. Cortone, 2006. This study has limitations such as the participants were all males, making it unsuitable to be generalised to the wider population, as females were not included in this. A previous study that was focused on the effectiveness of a 10-week aggression replacement programme within a prison setting was created with the intention of providing offenders with knowledge and coping skills in the hopes to reduce reoffending. The results of this study showed that this programme did reduce aggressive behaviour as well as thoughts. Curry and colleagues, 2012. This study also has limitations, however, one of them being that it has a very small sample size of 20 participants, making it difficult to be generalised to the wider population. Making sure that there are positive extracurricular activities for young individuals to engage in is also considered to be a successful way to help mitigate criminal behaviour. Conduct disorder is a mental health condition that causes adolescent individuals to exhibit antisocial or aggressive behaviour. A study found that individuals who participated in a local youth sports programme had a decreased level of conduct disorder at the end of the programme compared to when they began. Stalley, 1995. A limitation of this study is that it does not explore the life experiences of the individuals experiencing conduct disorder, meaning that it can be hard to generalise to all youth suffering with this disorder, as not all factors. In summary, making sure that there are support networks in place as well as healthy extracurricular activities for individuals to engage in is suggested to be a successful way of mitigating the risk of those who have a genetic predisposition to engage in criminal behaviour from actively doing so.